Hello, this is New Earth Angel, and I want to share a message with you today in regards to um, some videos that I've seen here lately. And it's a hot topic. A lot of people is talking about it, and it's about relationships and how men and women are you know interacting or not interacting. It seems as though like there's a big rift as to what men desire and what women desire, and it seems as though neither of them are getting their needs met. And it's kind of sad because I'm listening to the younger people, and it's a lot of anger, it's a lot of pain, um, and just uncertainty about what is in what lies in the future of relationships between men and women. And it didn't get this way overnight. um, what I've seen is and a lot of people may not agree with me, but I tend to pay attention to patterns. And I can remember going back, in the, you know, in the 90s, it was a lot of new music coming out, because you had rap, and you had a lot of kind of cutting edge kind of stuff where they was just beginning to call women out of their names. You really didn't see that much. I mean, back in the day, they didn't call women, B's and H's. They just didn't do that. Didn't mean that, they still didn't have derogatory words, but it really got, um, it really crossed the line back in those days. And I can't remember the lady's name, but it was, one of the elders, you know, black woman. And I remember her, you know, just pleading with, you know, young music writers, and begging them not to refer to, our women as B's and H's. And she was mocked for it and put down for it. But you know, hindsight is 2020. And she being an elder, she could see where it was going. And that's the thing now, elders today, sometimes, when we say something to young people, um, it's not because we don't want you to have fun or, live your life. Um, it's just the opposite, Many of us have been, in situations and had certain experiences where we can let you know, if you go down this road, this is what you're bound to see. This is what you're bound to experience. It's just like you going on a road trip. If I'm going on a road trip and you've never been, and I say I'm going down, you know, I-75 or I-20, and when I get to exit, let's say, I get to exit whatever, I'm gonna see this and I'm gonna see that. I can tell you what's at each exit. I done been enough times, you know what I'm saying? Where you might not even know what exits are along that route. So, and it doesn't mean that you're gonna experience the same things that I experience when you take whatever exit you take, but it's worth taking some heed to, so that when you do take that exit and you encounter certain things, you know how to navigate, and you don't even have to take the same route. The key here is that there are some people with some wisdom that can share with you and help you navigate. And when you're talking about relationships and love and what you expect from another person, that screams, I mean, to someone who's been down that road and has taken the time to get healing, because not every older person has sought their own healing. So let's just get that straight. It's still a lot of people who are, living and experiencing life from a hurtful place. So when I'm saying about, who may be able to, give you some wisdom, you know, you have to discern where where to get this information from. And this by, watching how the person moves, getting to know them, conversating with them, and getting their outlook. But what I wanted to share, tonight is before we can start to, say we want somebody to submit, or we want somebody to, you know, uh, you know, take care of our needs, and so that we don't have to work, or whatever the case may be today. Before we start making demands on another person, we first have to go within and address the things that we know is going on with us. And sometimes, and it's not to say, well, what about them? Because you hear that a lot. If someone point out something that the woman can do to be better, she may respond, well, what about the men? Why you ain't talking to the men? You say something to the men, and then the men, turning, frowning, and saying, well, let's talk about the women. The women this, the women that. What I'm seeing is that both men and women have been led astray. And a lot of it is by design. And going back to the patterns, going back to the music and boundaries being crossed, you know, um, there was a lot of men, getting caught up in the 80s and 90s, getting caught up in, unlawful activity, so they end up being taken away from their family, or taken away from their children, and now they're in a different culture. They're in this you know this law system. Okay, and it's a whole lot comes along with men being incarcerated, and not just men. There's women also who has been incarcerated. But what I'm saying is, when you take this man out of this out of the family dynamics, the women have to step up, because he's not there. And how do women step up? They gotta be more, in their masculine energy, or they're codependent, because they're looking for somebody to fill the position that the other man left vacant, in order for her to make it. So when you have music that is, you know, and now you got to think, back then you got these people singing these songs, and it's selling, it's making a lot of money. Got videos that many of these videos wouldn't even got any playtime, except for the women was scantily clad. So we got videos objectifying women. We got music that put women down. We got men who, choosing to get into activity that take them away from the home. And it doesn't matter what reason they did it for. The fact of the matter is, you're not at the house. So the child suffers and the women roles change. And now, not only that, we have drugs pumped into, certain communities. And that works to undermine the family. Then you have, sometimes both mama and daddy in the street. So grandma had to raise the kids. And grandma probably wasn't ready to be no grandma in the first place. Because, a lot of young teenagers having kids. Grandma wasn't ready to be no grandma for one. Grandma done raised her children and now she gotta raise another set. So grandma is upset. you know, and not all grandmothers. So let's, I know somebody say, well, not my grandma, or grandma get on and say, not me. I'm just saying, I'm just painting a picture of, and I'm being very general, you know. Then you have the grandmother who is back in a role that she didn't want to be in, and nobody asked her. But it's expected that this is what she does, and you notice that I didn't mention grandpa because grandpa might not be there. And even if he is, neither one of them asked to have to raise another set of children. So that, that could been how some kids, see their grandma as mean, when it could have been that grandma was just angry and upset that her life has been pretty much, you know, snatched. But the children need to be cared for. So you got all of this anger and addictions and traumas that have gone down, through the generations. And then now we're here. And the music has only gotten worse. How men and women both refer to each other in music, and what they say about how they treat one another in music, it's awful. And I can remember, a certain rapper, and I ain't gonna lie, when he came out with the song, independent, Independent. Do you know what that means? Oh yes, honey, I was popping it. You hear me? That was my anthem right there. And I knew plenty of women, during that era. Oh, they hear that song, they getting up, honey. They getting on the dance floor. They finna throw their hands up and they finna let you know who is independent up in here. And it didn't have nothing to do with not needing a man. It had nothing to do with that. It was having grown up and not had much. And now you don't have to wait on somebody to give it to you, because now you could go out and get it yourself. We was happy. We was proud to be able to do that. To make a way for ourselves. Watching your mothers and your grandmothers and your aunts struggle, getting beat up, abused by the ones that said they love them. So yes, it was a lot of women who was happy to be independent, and it was a lot of men who wanted an independent woman. He made a whole song about it. Dusty feet, please don't bother me. So guess what? Nobody want to be Miss Dusty Feet. So guess what? If you couldn't raise your hand when that song came on, guess what? You was trying to figure out, what I need to do to be independent. Now you got all these women who done went to school and got their degrees, got good jobs, but a lot of the men they they still doing that street stuff, and they come out, and most of their life has been, you know, snatched, and they come out of, being in the system, and they come back and they want a woman because a lot of people feel entitled to have one. And it doesn't matter whether you've been incarcerated or you just you know been doing your own thing, or maybe just me and being a player, feeling like hey, they can have as many women as they want and do as they want. But then it comes a time when they ready to slow down, or they ready to have this one. They want this one, and they can't have her because their stuff ain't together. And that's when the problem starts. When a man or a woman wants to be with a person that they're not really ready for. And I say ready because, if as a young man, if you want to be with a woman and you in a situation where you're arguing over who's going to pay the bill when y'all go out to eat, that means you're not ready to date. And ain't nothing wrong with that. And if you are looking to date, then if you know that you can't afford a meal to take, to pay for her a meal, take her to the park. There's something free. Do something free. But sometimes people want to do something big because they want to impress, and they want something in exchange. And if you want something in exchange, then you're not doing it for the right reason. And that is why a lot of people end up disappointed and angry at the end of the, the date, because it didn't go the way they thought it was going to go. But you got to realize that you are interacting with a person who has a brain of their own, and they can decide where they want this thing to go. It's not just about where some one person wanted to go. And I think too, going back to the music, you had the music telling the young men how to run the streets and chase women and chase the bag and kill each other. This is coming from our music. Then, as the music began to change, you get more women, and they're, no longer are they getting half naked for a man's video. They get half naked to make their own video. And so when women can go out and make money and have, some of the finer things in life, and they don't have to, come home and fight the person that say they love, that's a no-brainer that eventually there will be both men and women opting out of relationships. Because women making songs about taking advantage of men and doing so, and men making music talking about taking advantage of women and doing so. So the way I really see it is that, the men started this back in the day when they had the mic, and they were the predominant ones, making these rap songs. And then those same young men got kids who done heard they daddy's songs or they mama's songs, or they done heard they relatives talking, and now the kids have grown up, and now they rapping and talking and doing things based on what the generation before them was talking and singing about. So if I'm singing about, you know, you know, as a man is singing about women being independent, and when the children get old enough, what does that mean? And have somebody explain to them, and now they thinking, okay, they're formulating in their mind how they want to live their life. And if all they know is what they see and hear, and it's even black cinema, black TV, the shows, the movies. It's like it's no shortage of, you know, movies about pimps and drug dealers and undercover cops, having to investigate your own community. This old crazy crap. And then we know that people emulate what they see on TV. And this music, it has really corrupted a lot of people. Because we fail to realize that not everybody has the same mindset. Some people don't have all of their faculties. So they hearing stuff, and you know you don't know what's going on in their head. And so if a person knows that they still hurting from the loss of their father not being in the house, maybe he ended up, you know, um, incarcerated or killed, or or he just left the family, um, that has an impact. And for whatever reason, I know we'll hear a lot about, men not being able to express themselves or whatever. Um, we got to get to a point where that changes, and women being able to speak their piece to say what it is they want in a relationship. But first, we have to look at the pain that we already had before we even met another person. Because before you had a relationship, you was already living life. And if you above the age of 15, life then already gave you a couple of blows somewhere. And but definitely, you know, by the time you in your 20s, you done already had a couple of disappointments. And each person deal with them differently. And we have to realize that when we meet a person, you're meeting a representative. And yes, we all put our best foot forward. Most of us, put our best foot forward when we meeting somebody and we, think that, we might have an interest in that person. So you put forth your best effort. But it doesn't mean that, you hiding anything. It just means that the person hasn't got a chance to know you very well, because if you get the chance to know a person, you they'll show you in their actions what's going on with them. And you notice I didn't say they'll tell you. I say you'll see it in their actions. You can tell if you with somebody who's insecure, or somebody who is an attention seeker, a man or woman who, no matter who come around, they got to get in their face. They got to say something. They got to be seen. They got to be heard. Somebody got to know that they there. That's an insecure person. And a lot of people think, oh yeah, they just, good at talking to people. They just outgoing. No, that's a lie. That is to hide an insecurity about themselves. Because when you get attention, you don't have to go seeking for it. You don't have to go running up in somebody's face to get some attention. You don't have to be half naked to get a person's attention, because you're going to get the wrong attention. You might think that's the attention you want,